بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأوحينا إلى موسى أن أسر بعبادي إنكم متبعون فأرسل فرعون في المدائن حاشرين إن هؤلاء لشرذمة قليلون وإنهم لنا لغائظون. صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah, brothers and sisters, we're continuing with this series, the Quranic Reflections, and we are discussing the lives of the various prophets and the righteous ones who are mentioned in the Quran Kareem. And the reality of it is that every single one of these pious people, every single one of these Anbiya, their stories represent something. Their stories signify and symbolize something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks from us. If it's justice, if it's fairness, if it's speaking the truth, if it's piety and chastity and devotion and worship and generosity and courage, or whatever, or any of those qualities of virtue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of, every one of the prophets, each one of them, they embodied, either all of them or one of them in the most perfected form, as we've mentioned previously. And we've reached the story of Sayyidina Musa. And the story of Musa, if we were to spend the entire month of Ramadan just on Musa alayhi salam's life and biography, it would still not be enough. The life of Musa alayhi salam has so many angles that we can cover and we can discuss. But two particular things that I wanted to discuss is, number one, as we mentioned last night, that Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he represented holding to the commandment of Allah and speaking the truth, no matter what the situation might be. And we see from the moment, from the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him, understanding and strength and youth and vigor, before he was a Nabi, Allah had given him this ability and this desire and jazba to stand for the truth, no matter what situation it was in. No matter what, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam spoke the haqq, he spoke the truth, and he lived by justice. And we discussed that last night. The second point is, especially after Nubuwwat, the first commandment that Allah commanded Musa alayhi salam with, the first commandment, right? اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. The first one. Imagine how difficult this is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in another verse of the Quran, He says, هل أتاك حديث موسى? Have you heard the story of Musa? إذ ناداه ربه بالوادي المقدس طوى. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called upon him in the valley of Tuwa, near Sinai, near where he was in Madian, near the Sinai Peninsula, in that area. It was a valley, a very holy and sacred valley known as the valley of Tuwa. There Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to Sayyidina Musa through, as is mentioned, the burning bush. From the fire, Allah Azza wa Jal's kalam, as is appropriate for His Majesty, came, and it was heard by Sayyidina Musa, Kalimullah, the one who Allah spoke to him. And he says, إِذْ نَادَاهُ رَبُّهُ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى اذْهَبْ إِلَىٰ فِرْعَوْنَ إِنَّهُ طَغَى. The first commandment, I am your Lord, O Musa, there is no God besides me. Go to Fir'aun, verily that he has transgressed and he has become arrogant on the earth. Imagine, such a difficult command. And Allah the conversations are many of what Sayyidina Musa says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, oh Allah, my tongue gets tied. Wa akhi Musa huwa afsahu minni lisanan. And my brother Harun, wa akhi Harun huwa afsahu minni lisanan. Send the prophethood and give prophethood to my brother Harun. He is more eloquent than me in my tongue, in the tongue. I get tongue-tied, and I'm going to stand before this Fir'aun, and they already have a crime against me that I've killed one of them, and I'm going to go to them and they're going to hold that against me. I actually ran away from them, and you're telling me to go back to them. Yani Musa alayhi salam did not object. But this is the fears that is going through his mind. He fled from them when he had killed one of them. He actually has a bounty on his head. And Allah is commanding him to that one who wants to kill you, and there's a bounty on your head, you must now go back to him and call him to Allah. Call him to, and call who? The one who himself says, I am Allah. Na'udhu billah. He didn't say, I am Allah. Ana rabbukumul a'la. He says, I am not. He didn't say, I am Allah. He says, I am your Lord, the Most High. More than any other God that you can imagine, I am the highest God. إِنَّهُ طَغَى فَقُلْ هَلْ لَكَ إِلَىٰ أَن تَزَكَّى. And tell him, O Fir'aun, may it be that you purify yourself. وَأَهْدِيَكَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَتَخْشَى. And O Fir'aun, maybe I guide you to your Lord that you might fear him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, imagine what Allah commanded to Musa and Harun. فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. O Musa and Harun, say a soft and gentle word to Fir'aun. Can you imagine? The one who says, he's challenging God actually. He's challenging God. He says, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. But when Allah Ta'ala sends the Prophet to this tyrant, what does he say to his most beloved prophets, Musa and Harun? Not one prophet, two prophets. He didn't send one prophet to Fir'aun. He sent two prophets to Fir'aun. And how did Allah command? He says, فَقُولَا لَهُ. Both of you say to him soft and gentle words. Allahu Akbar. How is merciful Allah? How merciful is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that when He's sending prophets to a zalim, He's sending prophets to a tyrant, what is He commanding them to say? He's not saying, go and fix that guy up. He's talking all this trash. He's saying that he's God, go and fix him up. No. فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Say to him, oh my prophets, say to him a gentle word, maybe he might take heed and maybe he might fear and come to the straight path. Subhanallah. The story goes that Musa alayhi salam was sent with ayat, with signs, with miracles. Every single one of them was rejected. And the main event was when Allah Ta'ala commanded him to throw your staff. He says there will be a challenge in the middle of the day. That you come in the middle of the city and the town, call all of Egypt and gather all of the magicians of Egypt. Bring them all together. And the conversation between Musa and Fir'aun is very lengthy. I'm just summarizing it. How Allah Ta'ala commanded him to speak to him in kindness, to speak to him in gentleness, and to convey to him the message. And Fir'aun obviously was Fir'aun. Fir'aun was Fir'aun, and none of that benefited. And Allah then commanded, He said, show him the signs. And Sayyidina Musa showed him the sign where he would put his hand under the arm and would take it out and it would shine like the light bulb. Like a light bulb, it would shine brighter than the sun. And other miracles. The staff, he would throw it and it would turn into a serpent. So then he said, show them the signs. And it was a challenge. Right? Fir'aun gathered all of the magicians in Egypt and said, I will make you my special VIPs if you defeat Musa. And he gathered them. Musa alayhi salam said, you throw first. When they threw and their ropes turned into snakes. And then Sayyidina Musa then threw his staff, and by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it became such a serpent that it swallowed up all of their tricks, all of their ropes. When the magicians saw this, they understood and they realized that what Musa has, this is not a trick and this is not magic. Only the magicians could understand that. The others were saying this is magic, but the magicians, because they know this is their field, this is their science, this is their department, they know that things that of a substance cannot change into something else. What they were doing was illusions. They were performing illusions. They were making it. يُخَيَّلُ إِلَيْهِمْ أَنَّهَا تَسْعَى. It was being made, shown to them as an illusion that the snakes are moving. They had some type of tricks that they were doing that the ropes would move and it looked like they're snakes. It was an illusion. But when they saw that the stick, this wood, is turning actually into a creature, that is when they realized that this is from God. This is not magic. This is not illusion. فَخَرُّوا لَهُ سُجَّدًا. They fell into prostration at that point. قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ مُوسَى وَهَارُونَ. We believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun. We believe in the Rabbul Alameen. So Fir'aun, when he saw this, he said, آمَنْتُمْ لَهُ قَبْلَ أَنْ آذَنَ لَكُمْ. You are believing in him before I give you permission? إِنَّهُ لَكَبِيرُكُمُ الَّذِي عَلَّمَكُمُ السِّحْرَ. Actually now I know what it is. He is your senior who taught you magic. That's what it is. You're all together. That's the issue. All of you are one gang. إِنَّهُ كَبِيرُكُمُ الَّذِي عَلَّمَكُمُ السِّحْرَ فَلَأُقَطِّعَنَّ أَيْدِيَكُمْ. I will cut off your hands and feet from opposite sides. وَلَأُصَلِّبَنَّكُمْ فِي جُذُوعِ النَّخْلِ. And I am going to crucify you on the trunks of the date palm trees. They say that the first person to crucify was Fir'aun. He would crucify people and nail them to the trees and leave them there for the birds to eat from them. The name of Fir'aun that's mentioned in the Quran, what Allah Ta'ala called Fir'aun, وَفِرْعَوْنَ ذِي الْأَوْتَادِ الَّذِي نَطَغَوْا فِي الْبِلَادِ. وَفِرْعَوْنَ ذِي الْأَوْتَادِ. He was Fir'aun of the pegs. He was the Fir'aun of the... Watad is a peg, a nail. It's a long nail. His name was Fir'aun ذِي الْأَوْتَادِ, Fir'aun of the nails. He would nail you. He would nail you to the tree. He would cut off your right hand, left foot, left hand, right foot, so you'd be maimed for life. And he would make an example of you. And he did it to his own wife. We're going to talk about Fir'aun's wife. He did this to his own wife. So you can imagine, he was a person who had no mercy. When you say Fir'aun, only the image of a tyrant can come in your mind. Right? Just like when we say Musa, there's an image that comes. Justice and power and strength and speaking the haqq. And when you say Fir'aun, the opposite. Tyranny and injustice and arrogance and oppression. That's what comes in your mind. And he was full of it. He was full of tyranny and evil and arrogance. Allah Azza wa Jal then, when all of the signs were shown to him, Allah Azza wa Jal commanded Sayyidina Musa, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى أَنْ أَسْرِ بِعِبَادِي. This is the aspect of the second part of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam that we wanted to speak about, is finding strength in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Other than speaking the truth wherever he went, what was the salient feature of Musa alayhi salam is that at every moment making dua to Allah. Rabbi shrah li sadri. Rabbi shrah li sadri. Oh Allah, expand my heart. Brothers and sisters, those of you who have anxiety, read this dua. Sayyidina Musa, he also had a very heavy task in front of him. He had a heavy burden in front of him. Those amongst you who have this anxiety, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam was someone who his tongue would become tied up when he had to speak, when he would become emotional. He said, oh Allah, give revelation to my brother Harun. He is more eloquent than me in the tongue. And he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether you are feeling anxiety, or you are feeling depression, or you are feeling incapable of doing something, look at the words and take solace in the words of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. Rabbi shrah li sadri. When he had to go to Fir'aun, and he knew that I have this very major task ahead of me, how am I going to speak? Oh Allah, what will I say? My tongue is going to get tied when I'm in front of this tyrant who just kills people with impunity. He just slaughters people. He hangs people. He nails people. And you have to go, and you have already committed a crime in his land, and you're wanted. And now go and call him to Allah. Go and tell him that he's not God. It's not an easy. This is scary. What was Musa alayhi salam? He found strength in Allah. Rabbi shrah li sadri. What a powerful dua. Oh Allah, expand my chest. What is the meaning of expanding of the chest? It's the expansion of the chest that gives a person courage. Because when your chest is tight, you're thinking, oh, I can't do it. what's going to happen? This is going to happen. You're just going all negative. It gets, when it gets tight, it gets dark. When it gets dark, it gets hopeless. So when your chest becomes expanded, you're like, no, I can do anything. The nur. When you get that expansion, you get that light. When you get that light, you get that hope. You feel invincible. Rabbi shrah li sadri. Oh Allah, expand my chest. Wa yassir li amri. And oh Allah, make easy my task. Wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. And oh Allah, open my tongue, open the knot in my tongue so that they would understand what I'm saying. وَجَعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِّنْ أَهْلِي. And oh Allah, give me a helper from my own family. Harun akhi. Harun, my brother. Ushdud bihi azri wa ashrikhu fi amri. Strengthen my support. Strengthen my support with him. Wa ashrikhu fi amri. And join him in prophethood with me. كَيْ نُسَبِّحَكَ كَثِيرًا وَنَذْكُرَكَ كَثِيرًا إِنَّكَ كُنْتَ بِنَا بَصِيرًا. So that we can remember you, O Lord, and so we can glorify you, O Lord. You are all watching over us. قَالَ قَدْ أُوتِيتَ سُؤْلَكَ يَا مُوسَى. You've been granted your wish, O Musa. Don't worry. I am with you. The story goes on. Sayyidina Musa took strength from Allah. At that moment where he had to stand in front of Musa, he made dua. At the time when he was, he removed the lid of the well and he gave, the sheep and took care of the sheep and the daughters of Sayyidina Shuaib alayhi salam, he made dua. We can see at every moment. When he punched that person in the chest, he wasn't even a Nabi. He said, Rabbi ghfirli. Oh Allah, forgive me for this what I have done. Immediately, at every juncture, he took recourse to calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here also we see when Allah commanded him, this is not an easy task. How many people do you think Bani Israel were? Bani Israel were more than 100,000. You're taking 100,000, more than 100,000 people. And you're taking them, and these are all the slaves of the Coptics, the slaves of the people of Pharaoh. You can imagine that you have these people, they're the Coptics. And then you have those who are the slaves, they are the Bani Israel. It's very similar to see like in the 1800s, imagine this, that in the 1800s, you take all of the Africans who are brought and say, I'm going to take you all away from these white people here. We're going to emancipate you, all of you. We're going to take every single black man and woman that's been enslaved and we're going to take them to the promised land. What do you think would happen? We know that what happened in America. Read the American history. When this even prospect was brought up, nobody even moved, nobody touched a single slave. Just the prospect and the law was going to be passed by Abraham Lincoln. What happened? There was a civil war in this country. Civil war where brother was fighting brother. For years it lasted. It was a bloody war. So you can imagine now what Musa alayhi salam was doing, take them out in the night. I mean, can you just, we kind of, I don't think we sometimes really ponder about the magnitude of what Musa was tasked with. I'm just giving in a comparison. Abraham Lincoln, he just said, okay, we're going to pass a law. All the slaves are going to be free. What? Slaves are going to be free over my dead body, literally. Over our dead bodies. This is our business. These people are our manpower. What are you talking about? What's going to happen to our cotton fields? What's going to happen to our plantations? You're crazy. Over our dead bodies. Come and take them. Come, let me see how you're going to take these slaves. And Musa alayhi salam is being told, فَأَوْحَى وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى أَنْ أَسْرِ بِعِبَادِي إِنَّكُمْ مُتَّبَعُونَ. Everybody, get up and start leaving. Get up and start walking. Keep walking towards the east. Start walking to the east. 100 and something thousand people. All the slaves of Pharaoh. Let's go. We're all going to go in the middle of the night. And everybody got up in the middle of the night and Musa is ahead and all these people are following. And what's the command? Innakum muttaba'un. And just by the way, you're also being followed by Pharaoh's army. Everybody get up and leave. Just keep walking to the east and you're being followed. Followed by Pharaoh and his 100,000 strong army. All with chariots and swords and horses and equipped to the T. You get this image? Make this image in your mind. It's serious. It's on another level. And Musa alayhi salam's story is epic. Musa alayhi salam's story was epic. Allahu Akbar. فَأَرْسَلَ فِرْعَوْنُ فِي الْمَدَائِنِ حَاشِرِينَ. Allahu Akbar. Fir'aun sent an order in every corner of his land. Get all of the troops. Every soldier, every general, every commander, every foot soldier, cavalry, gather them all round. إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ لَشِرْذِمَةٌ قَلِيلُونَ. This is a small little group. We're going to crush them like this. إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ لَشِرْذِمَةٌ قَلِيلُونَ. This is like a small little jamaat. This is a small little group. It's nothing for us. There were over 100,000 some people. And Fir'aun is saying, these are nothing for us. Imagine the armies he had. Allah Azza wa Jal says, when Allah says, then you have to know that the magnitude of this is huge. What did Allah say? هل أتاك حديث الجنود هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود. Has the story of the armies reached you? The armies of Fir'aun and Thamud. Yani Allah is mentioning هل أتاك حديث الجنود. Junud, it means the armies. Meaning the likes of these armies. The magnitude of it. I mean, imagine ancient times. Ancient times, it was crazy. You see like on the borders of your land, you have an entire country and you see like soldiers on horses, armed to the teeth with swords and like armor, so as far as the eye can see. It's mind-boggling. Like they swallow you up. Just the sheer numbers. إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ لَشِرْذِمَةٌ قَلِيلُونَ. These people are nothing. وَإِنَّهُمْ لَنَا لَغَائِضُونَ. And they have angered us. They have angered us. وَإِنَّا لَجَمِيعٌ حَاذِرُونَ. And we are ready. We are ready. We're ready to go. We are alert. فَأَخْرَجْنَاهُمْ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ. We took them out. All the people of Fir'aun. فَأَخْرَجْنَاهُمْ مِنْ جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ. These people who are going out thinking that they are going to crush these people who in their minds they are weak. But in reality, do you know what Allah was doing when He was making them come out after Musa and his people? فَأَخْرَجْنَاهُمْ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ. We were taking them out of their gardens and their springs. وَكُنُوزٍ وَمَقَامٍ كَرِيمٍ. And we were taking them out of their treasures and their lofty palaces. كَذَلِكَ وَأَوْرَثْنَاهَا بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. And like this, we made Bani Israel the inheritors of all of those treasures that they left behind. فَأَتْبَعُوهُمْ مُشْرِقِينَ. So when he realized that in the nighttime, there started, what's going on? Nobody's here, everybody's moved out. At the time of Ishraq, Fir'aun and his army started to follow. And obviously these people are on foot, and Fir'aun is on horseback and his cavalry. فَلَمَّا تَرَاءَ الْجَمْعَانِ قَالَ أَصْحَابُ مُوسَى إِنَّا لَمُدْرَكُونَ. This is an amazing reality of what Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam represented. فَلَمَّا تَرَاءَ الْجَمْعَانِ قَالَ أَصْحَابُ مُوسَى إِنَّا لَمُدْرَكُونَ. When they saw the sheer numbers of the army that's coming, the people who are with Musa, they look back and they see that there's an army of Fir'aun that's as far as the eye can see. What did they say? قَالَ أَصْحَابُ مُوسَى إِنَّا لَمُدْرَكُونَ. That's it, we're done. We've been caught up. We're finished. We're done. Oh Musa, where do we go now? The water is in front of us, and there was a sea. Either there was a river or there was a sea. There was a large body of water in front of them. Inna lamudrakun. What are we going to do? Oh Musa, now you brought us, we're sitting ducks. We're going to be done with. And notice in this moment, subhanallah, at many junctures, it wasn't like the people of Musa had like 150% trust in him. They were even blaming him. Even when he was trying to help them, Bani Israel was saying, we were being persecuted before you and we are being persecuted after you. What's the difference? Can you imagine that you're a Nabi of Allah and they don't even have 100% trust in you? He struggled with them very much. And at this point also, when Musa alayhi salam was bringing them out, they also can't understand what is happening. You're just like, we just walk out of here? I mean, literally, he's telling them, believe me, all we're going to do is everybody's going to get up, even though we've been here for centuries. And tonight, God commanded me, we're all going to get up and just walk out of here. It's kind of difficult. You got to have strong iman. What are you talking about? We've been here for centuries. But no, tonight Allah commanded me. Tonight we must leave. And now when the sea came in front of them and said, that's it, see? We told you. You set us up. We're going to be finished now. We are done for. This is where Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, his yaqeen and his turning to Allah and finding strength in Allah, even if behind you is the armies of Fir'aun, which is like as far as the eye can see, right? And they're equipped to the T with weapons. And in front of you is the sea, and you're going to drown. And with you are people who don't even trust you. Musa alayhi salam said, Kalla. Qala kalla inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdeen. Never. We are not caught up. Inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdeen. Verily, my Lord is with me. He will guide me. Do you see? He didn't say, my Lord is with you. Or he didn't say, my Lord is with us. He should have said with us. Right? He should have said, my Lord is with you. He said, no, you already having doubts. Inna ma'iya rabbi. Just be with me then. Just hold on to me, and if where Allah is going to take me, He will take you as well. Inna ma'iya rabbi. My Lord is with me. Sayahdeen. He will guide me. Allah will never. فَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى. At that moment, Allah sent wahi to him. أَنِضْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْبَحْرَ. Strike with your staff this ocean. فَانْفَلَقَ فَكَانَ كُلُّ فِرْقٍ كَالطَّوْدِ الْعَظِيمِ. One of the greatest miracles of any Nabi. Allahu Akbar. He struck the sea with his staff. فَانْفَلَقَ. It split in half. فَكَانَ كُلُّ فِرْقٍ كَالطَّوْدِ الْعَظِيمِ. Each side that's split of this water, right, of the sea, it was like a wave on both sides, like a wall on both sides. Every time, you know, when I go to the aquarium, every time I go to the aquarium, and now they have the aquarium where it goes actually around like this, where you could actually see the fish on top of you and all around you. I always think about how Bani Israel, they were walking through the water, where on this side was the water, and on this side was also the water. Every time I go through those things and you see on both sides, I think about exactly what Allah Ta'ala showed Bani Israel. فَكَانَ كُلُّ فِرْقٍ كَالطَّوْدِ الْعَظِيمِ. Each side of the sea, when it split, was like a huge wave, literally suspended in midair. And not only that, the middle path, طَرِيقًا يَبَسًا. Allah opened up a path which was dry. I mean, imagine if you lift up the water, you're like walking in mud. Like, how are you gonna? It was طَرِيقًا يَبَسًا. Allah dried the path for them. And they're seeing on both sides this miracle of Allah Azza wa Jal. وَأَزْلَفْنَا ثَمَّ الْآخَرِينَ. And we left the others behind and drowned. وَأَنْجَيْنَا مُوسَى وَمَن مَّعَهُ أَجْمَعِينَ. And we saved Musa and everyone who was with them, all of them. ثُمَّ أَغْرَقْنَا الْآخَرِينَ. And we drowned the rest of them. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةً. In this is a sign. وَمَا كَانَ أَكْثَرُهُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. And those who were destroyed from before, most of them were unbelievers. The condition of them were people, they were people who did not believe. وَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الرَّحِيمُ. And very your Lord is the mighty against His enemies, and the most merciful to those who put their trust in Him. From this we see what was the embodiment of Sayyidina Musa. What he embodied. This is, I mean, like I said, there's so many angles to the life of Musa alayhi salam, but amongst all of those, this is when I imagine Musa alayhi salam as a Nabi. He embodied this situation. And you will also be in situations like this in your life, where you have the sea in front of you, and you have enemies behind you, and even the people around you, most of them, they're doubting you. This is what Musa represented. You see? You can't look at the prophets just like, okay, it's just a story, and Ashunidam Raft, okay, it was wonderful, very entertaining. No. Imagine the humanness that in front of you it's impossible. Where and how is the sea going to split in half? That's not even in your mind. That's not even in your imagination. And behind you is an army, not a normal army. One of the greatest armies that Allah mentions, هَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ الْجُنُودِ فِرْعَوْنَ وَثَمُودَ. Armies that the magnitude of these armies and the power of the army was mentioned by Allah in the Quran, how powerful these armies were. So behind you is that impossibility. In front of you is another impossibility. And with you, encouragement? No, completely opposite of encouragement. People that doubt you, people that, think that you're, bringing them to destruction. At that time, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam made dua. Kalla inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdin. I will never ever lose trust with my Allah. If Allah commanded me, then He will not destroy me. If Allah inspired me, if He commanded me, if He was the one who told me, take them out in the night, He will not destroy me. He will not waste me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then delivered him and delivered those who were with him. And from another point we understand that those righteous souls that we connect ourselves to, the Allah walas and the pious people, wherever they go, it might not be that the help of Allah is with us, but the help of Allah would be with them. When you are with them, the help of Allah will be with you as well. Maybe we're not worthy of that help. Maybe we're not worthy of that assistance and that nusra and that rahmah and that blessing. But when it comes upon them, then when you are with them, it will come upon you as well. And those who are with Fir'aun, and remember the story of Lut? The wife of Lut, she was not with him. She was not with the Prophet. She was with them. So when the punishment came, it came on her as well. If she would have went with Sayyidina Lut, the mercy of Allah would have been with her. Those who went on the ship with Nuh, the mercy of Allah came with them. The deliverance of Allah was with them. And the son who said, no, my aql will save me. I'm going to go to the top of the mountain. I don't need your ship. He was drowned. When we are with the people of Allah, when we are with the righteous ones, even though we might not be worthy, Allah will save us because Allah's mercy is with them. Inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdin. So for us to be with them, for us to be with the righteous and never ever be with those who are away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And no matter what the situation is, to believe this wholeheartedly. To believe it wholeheartedly that Allah will guide you. Inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdi. Say these words. When you are in a situation like this, say these words. My Lord is with me. He will guide me. Oh Allah, guide me. Rabbi shrah li sadri. Learn this dua. Learn these du'as. Each one of these du'as, if it helped the prophets, it will help us. Allah Ta'ala said about Yunus alayhi salam, وَكَذَلِكَ نُنْجِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. This is the what people say, Shaykh, give me a wazifa. I want to read this wazifa. I want to read that wazifa. What wazifa can be better than the wazifa in the Quran? لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين فأنجيناه من الغم وكذلك ننجي المؤمنين. We saved him from gham. We saved him from grief. And we will save the believers who read these words. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Allah Ta'ala says, قال أجيب دعوتكما. Allah has accepted your dua. So from this we see the beautiful example of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, that we find strength in Allah, we make dua, we take recourse to Him, and no matter what situation we might be in, if our faith is strong, if our dua is strong, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deliver us just as He delivered them. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand what has been said. Wa akhiru da'wana. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.